I'm Edgar Wright.
Hello and welcome to another odd-shaped panel. Tonight we are going to be talking about one of my favorite directors, and I think a lot of the OSPeeps' favorite directors, and that's Edgar Wright, the genius. This man is a master of all genres, and basically every movie he's ever made was awesome. So we're going to be discussing a lot of cool stuff about him tonight. Obviously, my outfit is an homage to Sean, and Tom is doing his Scott Pilgrim thing over here. Some of our favorites.
I'm gonna go with Shaun of the Dead, and I know it seems like an obvious answer, but you know, for me, first is usually the best. Like with Star Wars, Indiana Jones, all those first movies are personal favorites of mine, although the sequels, and in this case Cornetto Trilogy sequels, are also just as good. I chose Shaun of the Dead because it's actually the first Edgar Wright film I've ever watched, and I didn't know what to think of it at first because it was just so bizarre. It was hilarious, and also you can tell it has that British wit. It's very dry with its humor, but it's also very clever. Like, there's a lot of hilarious visual stuff, like when he's going out to get some Cornetto ice cream and he doesn't really notice that the world is just going to shit right in front of him, and he's just getting some Cornetto ice cream, which I want. It's a great spoof of the zombie genre while also being very original with its approach. It introduced me to a lot of British things, like what they pronounce stuff, like, you know, telly, pub, and yeah, I enjoy watching it every single time, and I notice something new every single time, and if a film can do that, then it's done its job.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Shaun of the Dead has enormous replay value.
It's where I fell in love with his style, where he knows how to play with music, and I know you're going to work on that more later. But the way he works with music and his sound cues, like that's where I fell in love with it. The other two just expanded on that, but Shaun of the Dead one.
I guess you love the scene where he's throwing all the records out of this box in the garden in Shaun of the Dead.
Yes. My choice is also definitely Shaun of the Dead. And it's, again, for a lot of the reasons that he said, and I love the entire Cornetto trilogy. I think that they're all really, really good. But for me, like, I'm a horror junkie, and I've been into that for my whole life, and I think that zombies were going kind of stale, and what this dude did to make a movie that was equally as comedy as it was horror, to turn it on its head and make zombies fresh again and fun and exciting. And I don't know, it's amazing.
It's George Romero's favorite zombie film.
Yeah.
So
there it is.
It kind of makes fun of zombies, though, which is, I think, what makes it stand out from the rest.
For sure, but it's just really, like, it's good writing, it's exciting the entire time, like, the bits that are in it are hilarious, the music that's in it, like, I love Queen. They're, like, my ultimate favorite band, so to, like, have the really iconic scenes going on with Queen and then the best friend song, like, finishing the movie is just, like, icing on the cake for me. It's perfect. Not a minute or a second in that film that I would change. I really love it. In my top 5 favorite movies of all time. It might be in my top 2.
Wow. Edgar Wright's a visual comedy genius, so I don't blame you there.
This puppy.
Yes.
100%. And I like hate to be that person that's like, the first one is the best one, because, like, you know, it's like a real hipster thing to say, but the first one's the best one, man. Yeah. Like, it's just so perfect. Like, Hot Fuzz is great. Like, don't get me wrong, Hot Fuzz is excellent, and it's funny because I could probably watch Hot Fuzz more frequently and have watched Hot Fuzz more frequently than I watch Shaun of the Dead, but there's just, I don't know, like there's just something so brilliant and so on point about like literally every scene in that movie. Like I feel like there's no scene that I could do without in that film. Like each one is a step toward plot development. Each scene is foreshadowing. Like it's just, I don't know, especially like when you watch it over again, you watch it with the Zombo meter where it gives you all like the trivia and stuff. I mean, like from the music choices to the fact that like he works at 4E Electric to or electronics, like I'm Coming to Get You, Barbara, like all the layers that he has in that movie of like all the films that came before it, it's just masterful. Like I saw Shaun of the Dead and then I watched Spaced, and when I watched Spaced, I was like, oh, so this is how that gets born. Like this is where that comes from, because like in that every episode is like nuanced and very much like deeply ingratiated into something bigger than itself, and like that to me that's really like what Shaun of the Dead is an exercise in. And then like he like really skillfully combines the romantic comedy aspect of it as well. Like you have these like character types, like these archetypes that are overlapping within a zombie movie and like a comedy film, but like you add a slice of life because like they're imperfect people, and you get this like totally genius take on like what the world would actually be like. I mean, like you have shows like The Walking Dead that focus on the survivors, but like a lot of these shows and movies like expect you to believe that these people live inside of a vacuum where like there are no zombie movies and no one knows what's going on. Like no one calls zombies in The Walking Dead. It's almost like they're completely outside of that pop culture. Whereas this like takes a direct hit. Like they're like, let's talk about it. Let's discuss, because this is what would really happen if the zombie apocalypse were a thing, you know? I don't know, I love it. It's my favorite.
One thing that's great about that movie is that there's really complex like dynamics going on between all the characters. Like
Absolutely.
On the one hand, you have like the relationship that's going on with Liz, and that's obviously got problems. And then you have the roommate that's in love with her, and then you have the issues with his mom and him not wanting to introduce her to Liz, and then you have the stepdad that he doesn't like. It's all like very complex situations. Even like you get Ed's having feelings for the mother and like giving Sean crap about the mom and stuff. Like everyone has, it's not like a cookie cutter thing going on. There's definitely like stories going on within the story.
And I like
Absolutely.
the fact that he can tell you everything that's going to happen in the movie right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like when he's like, well, what's your plan? He's like, well, this is exactly what we're going to do, and that's exactly what they do and what happens. And his foreshadowing is amazing. When one of the first descriptions of Nick Frost in that movie, he's called Dead Weight. Like,
yeah. And I know Candace is a fan of the dude who works in the store with him.
Noodle. I've only got Henry myself, and like upon like my second or third viewing, I realized that like that's who he's on the phone with when they're outside the Winchester. Like it took me like 2 or 3 watches before I was like, is he trying to buy weed from Noodle right now? Are you kidding me, dude? Inappropriate, and like so good. And like I think what I really love too is like early Martin Freeman cameo as like the Liz equivalent. Like I love the like how they work in Daisy Steiner, how they work in I always forget her name, Jessica Stevenson. I feel like something. Obviously, their story is incredibly different than what we know happens to Sean. For her to like have made it through, I mean, even the way she like saves the end, like she just swoops in out of nowhere, and she's like this like rock star, like fucking Tomb Raideress, like I'm here, zombies beware. Like she's just so like I don't know, out of nowhere, and you're like, what have you been doing this whole time?
They just like walk by each other in the line. They're like, hey.
And even down to the cameo of the reverse Ed is that guy from Pompidou, Matt Lucas. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, possibly.
Really good.
But yeah, dude. What about you, Jason?
Samesies. Like, same. Shaun of the Dead, everything she said, ditto, 2 times. No, yeah, like, Shaun of the Dead, there's like a little bit more of like a personal, like, it's kind of,
it's our movie.
Yeah, kind of thing. Well, because in our first conversation, like in the first 5 minutes of,
it's what made me talk to him.
I don't. All right, so I don't mean to brag or anything, but the first 5 minutes of talking to this girl, I dropped a slice of fried gold like reference.
Yeah, because that's your handle on Instagram too.
He likened my singing to a slice of fried gold. He was like, "How is that for a slice of fried gold?" Because I did a Nina Simone cover, and I was like, "Who is this boy?"
He's not wrong.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just singing, he is not wrong. It says in the chat here that the IMDb says Yvonne. I think we just have
Yvonne.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to
Yvonne.
agree with you
Yes.
guys and say Shaun of the Dead.
He's our next guy.
Like, you guys pretty much said everything I was thinking, but
So,
the
our
visual
next
cues
question,
in that
Nolan.
are so freaking smart. Like, you see the whole apocalypse happening, but he's like totally oblivious to it. And then when he starts to kind of notice something distracts him. I just think that is so smart. Like, you even in the intro, you see people who you're going to see later as zombies. Like, that is so smart.
Yeah, you gotta love that scene too, where like they think that she's drunk, the lady in their backyard, and like grabbing the camera to take a picture and everything. Like, so
Yeah.
because that's what it would be like nowadays. You know that someone would be just like Instagramming it right quick.
Yeah, or they're just on their phone and they're not even paying attention to what's going on around them.
Hot Fuzz. Got a mustache. I know.
Well, first of all, before I answer that, I gotta say I love all the movies in the Cornetto Trilogy. But I'm gonna go with one that I argued for on Fan Friction and didn't win, but it's gotta be Hot Fuzz for me.
Awesome. What is it about a Hot Fuzz that makes it stand out for you?
Well, Hot Fuzz is like, it's because I love cop movies, and I think it's the ultimate British fun action movie. It's like one of the best British action movies ever made. It feels like the most complete of the Cornetto trilogy, and it pays homage to a lot of incredible genres like mystery, horror, cop, and action. And it's still a great story about a man learning how to let go and to live his life a little. And I saw this in theaters when I was 11, expected it to just be like a funny buddy cop film, and then I was greeted with all this gore and murder and blood, and look how fantastic I turned out now.
Yeah, it's funny because you would think that Shaun of the Dead would be the glorious of the Cornetto trilogy, but I don't think that it is. I think that he actually elevated the brutality with Hot Fuzz, like that scene where the chunk of the church falls down and smashes the dude's head.
Oh,
I was
that freaked
really
me out as a
surprised.
kid.
Yeah, I was really surprised because it was brutal. I was like, holy crap, like, I did not see that coming at all. It was really unexpected, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it definitely was. I kind of made this face during the movie when I saw that.
Hot Fuzz.
Nice.
It has to be Hot Fuzz because first is the first one that I saw. I didn't know about Shaun of the Dead. I saw it after because I remember like a year later that I saw Hot Fuzz. I get this 2-pack. It was Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz for like 100 pesos. At that time, it was like $6 or $7. And so after I saw Hot Fuzz again, I saw Shaun of the Dead. And I like Shaun of the Dead. I like all of the people that said all of those takes when they fight with the vinyls and the final scene and everything. But I really like Hot Fuzz because of all of the action tropes that they laugh on, all of the gore. That's the thing that hooked me up so much because, like Candace said, one of my favorite scenes is when they killed the reporter on that, when they killed him with that thing from the church, and he's still walking. And remember me also those guys from Silent Hill with those things, those pointy things. And also when they killed that lady with the plants with her scissors. Yeah. And so yeah, I really love that movie. I really like Nick Frost in that movie. I like Nick Frost in a lot of movies, but in that one especially because I felt so related to him because he loves to see in a lot of movies and all of the things that he always imagines. He always imagines to be like a big hero and a lot of stuff. That's the thing that I like the most about Hot Fuzz. And also, my favorite scene is when he doesn't want to shoot his father and he does the point break, like, no! It's just like I love that. Even though I like also like everybody said the worst end, that fight scene in the bathroom and everything, but Hot Fuzz is my favorite because I related so many action movies when I was growing up, or seeing all the Die Hards, Predator, Aliens.
I think, without question, I can say I think Hot Fuzz is my favorite movie of the Cornetto trilogy.
Nice. Hot Fuzz is getting some love tonight. I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I don't think anybody can deny. I think that's where I was having the problem. Is like, because Shaun of the Dead might be a slightly better movie overall, like executes its premise and this, that, and the other. But like, I just love Hot Fuzz so much, and it's so fun, and I just think it's a great movie, and it's kind of both a thriller and an action movie, so it's a little bit of a genre bender too, just similar to what Shaun of the Dead was, and also with a little bit of comedy in it all too. So
I think we may have the same answer. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna say Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, I also agree, and I, definitely like what Brian had to say. It's like, favorite versus what's the best, and
I think they're the same.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the same. Yeah, I love Hot Fuzz. The movie is just magnificent.
It's so well paced and shot, and the action scenes are really good. And it not only does a really good job replicating, but it lampoons the whole like action movie genre all at the same time, like incredibly well.
Yeah, love letter plus lampoon, and I love how Wright uses the same actors over and over again in his works, especially in the Cornetto trilogy. And in Shaun of the Dead, you have Simon Pegg and Nick Frost as these like two losers, and then we get to see kind of a transformation of where Nick Frost is still kind of definitely a man-child, but Simon Pegg as Sergeant Angel is just total super cop, and his whole life is so rigid and together, where he has to kind of go through the journey of the movie of learning to let go a little bit. And I love how it's, you're using these same actors, but they don't always have to play the exact same character tropes every film. And I like that growth. And even in his show Spaced, Pegg's character Tim was, kind of like a little bit of Sean, but like a little bit more put together, except for when his girlfriend broke up with him.
The World's End. What the hell is that?
The World's End has that. It's just this wonderful wrap up to the Cornetto trilogy, because you've seen Nick Frost and Simon Pegg as friends. You've seen them become friends in Hot Fuzz. And then you get to see them sort of argue, but then in the end make up. And, I love the part where they pull down his sleeves and you see, the wristbands. I think The World's End is, it's a very emotional movie, and I really love it, and I think it should get more credit than it gets.
For sure, it's definitely it's more powerful in certain ways. Like you said, I never thought about it how it was more emotional, but it is especially
suicide attempt.
And the whole trying to prove who's who out of them. Then they're the whole scars and just how well they know each other, even though it's been so many years.
And it's even just again with rich characters where these people are really established characters that have way different dynamics with each other, and you have Simon Pegg who's really trying to grasp onto his former glory while the rest of his friends have totally moved on, and it's good writing.
What's smart about that? What's smart about that also is that they go to a place that they're familiar with, but they've been away from for so long, so that they know all these characters and they're able to tell you who they are, but they obviously something has changed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is just smart.
Yeah. Also, the whole growing up thing, I think, Shaun of the Dead is about, Shaun has to grow up, and I think Nick Frost's character has to grow up a little bit in Hot Fuzz, and I think the third movie really shows, well, what happens if you don't grow up? Gary King didn't want to move on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but he's also rewarded for it at the end.
That's totally true.
But it's the worst situation, you know what I mean? It's you can be this, but it's the end of the world. So
And love how he started his trilogy with apocalypse, like an apocalyptic scene, and then he finishes it again with an apocalyptic scene.
Yeah.
And they're different, like bookends.
Sandwich, like an apocalypse sandwich.